This is Calicat, the Calicatster, and this is a review of episode 14 of Star Trek Prodigy, the Crossroads. In this episode, the Prodigy is going to be buried on an ice planet in the smuggler ring near Zindi space. It's in Zindi space. The Zindis are running the station from my Enterprise, and Janeway's crew is on the planet looking for the kids, and the kids are there. Each one of them meets up with one of the crew from the ship. They learn that the father guy is there, but they don't know whether he's back. Normally, they think that he's working for them, so they run from them basically, or they run from Janeway. Janeway chases them. This was all in the trailer. So some of it was in the trailer, yeah, the chasing part. So they're heading toward the Romulan neutral zone, and they get inside just before they accidentally fire a torpedo because Murph jumps on the torpedo punch and the factory hatches. So basically they run back to the ship, and they get in the ship, and then they fly off again. So it was buried, but only briefly. Then Janeway chases them, and then the torpedo thing happens. So it's an accidental torpedo fire, and Janeway thinks it's legit. So she damages a third nacelle, dropping the ship from warp, and then they go into the neutral zone on warp power, and yeah. So that's your episode, Crossroads. I'm not sure of the final cast member wrote this, but yeah. Admiral Janeway now realizes that they are children flying the ship, so really they're not like they could be dangerous, but they're not. They're more like Cillians, they're children. So, and she's met the Cillians in Starship Realms. She met the Cillians a few times, and in Q, of course, in Q Junior, in the Cillian Realm story. So she knows about them. Even in the Delta Quadrant, they met them. They had the ability to get there back and forth. In fact, in the Cillian Realms universe, they got their version of the Voyager back with them as well, and then back to the Delta Quadrant again because it's silly. So here we have. Oh yeah, and somebody rescued the station guy who says they're savage beasts attack the ship thing. They kind of know there's a weapon or something they were using, but maybe they didn't know about it. So they kind of could put the pieces together if they wanted to and figure things out. But adults don't really listen to kids, and that's the point of the story. That's what's going on. So it's less like a manhunt story and more like, we got to find out what these rebel children are doing that have escaped over the border. Cillian. But they've escaped over the Romulan neutral zone, and it ends with a Romulan showing up to say, "Don't cross the neutral zone, or it's an act of war." And so they won't cross the neutral zone. I'm assuming. Episode 14, so we're about halfway through. Next week is 15, and almost halfway through. And it was a good Star Trek adventure episode, and it has Thadium Okona in it, who is doing a pirate thing. He's got a pirate IR. Thadium Okona from Generation 1, seen only once in TNG, in the Outrageous Okona. That weird TNG episode where Guinan tries to teach Data humor, which is funny, because Okona was basically Star Trek's Han Solo on Next Generation, and they realized what they'd done, so they never put him back again, because, Han Solo, that's the kind of thing. So, no, you can't do that. So Lucasfilm was like, no. Even though technically they know ILM, and ILM did their models and everything, so they knew Lucasfilm. It wasn't like they would get in trouble if they had their own. But I guess they decided not to do that until over 30 years later when they brought him back. But it was before Wesley knew about women. And Wesley was wondering why Okona was picking up on the girl. Even though he was like 15, I think he'd probably met game. But as he said in that one episode, there are some games I don't quite know yet. He said back in the day. But yes, but yes, he didn't know about that. So anyway, this episode was fine. It was an adventure, exciting kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily a Cillian episode. We had nothing to do with writing it or anything like that. It's just they're pushing the same buttons. They're going along the same path. Kind of can tell where it's going. I would not be surprised if the ending of this season is them finding Gwendolyn's planet and inadvertently causing the problem that happens later on in the future, and then he goes back in time, which would be a paradox if they do that. Maybe even the diviner guy, he's the one that does it. Maybe that's the irony of that one. If they discover an old Chakotay there or something, who's become the space god. I don't know. Gwendala, yes. And I painted up a Seska spy figure to look like Gwendala, to appear in Starship Locations Season 3. Used her a little bit in Season 2, but she had no dialogue. She was just in the background, the wedding sequence in the other one. And I started writing Season 3 of Starship Locations over there to be aired on the Chimera channel, and she's in it. But their show takes place in 2383 here in the show. Now it's 2384. It's around the time of the android synth thing. So maybe that weapon that went off is captured by the Romulans, and they use it to attack Mars and make the androids go crazy. Maybe they seize it and they attack Mars. I wonder if that's where they're going with that part of it. I wonder if they steal it and they use it against the humans. That also would throw a paradox. I bet they're going to do something like that. And if they don't, it's a missed opportunity. But if they do, it's totally where it's going. See, we're on the same wavelength. I don't know. I'm just guessing. So I was like, yeah, that's probably what they're doing too. Now, if they do something similar, well, that would make sense. They could even blame this diviner super weapon for the Mars attack if they wanted to. Mars attack. But because they are close to that time period. It's a year off. But yeah, the Romulans capture the device and then re-engineer it to use it against use it by the Tel Shiar and the Jatvash. They use it. Yeah, they reverse engineer it or something. So to attack Mars. Yeah, because it was never clear who did it, who set off the robots, and that's right before it. So, but in terms of the current timeline, it is roughly 15 to 20 years later than what it is here in the show. So, yeah, Gwendla, we don't know what kind of species she is. So she was a Cillian, but so is Douge. He's also a Cillian, the boy. He's another kind of Cillian. So it's possible, we don't know how old they are, so she's probably around 16 in the story, so she would be 30 years older. She would be in her late 40s, basically. So yeah, she late 30s, so she would be around. So, and also Zero is going to be in it. But yes, the Medusan. Just writing the episode, and it has Tal, and it has from the other series, and it has who are teenagers, and Kestra, who's a teenager, 18 joining Starfleet. Something goes wrong, the story starts. But that's a silly Trek. I just thought I would give you hints of, because maybe it won't happen that way. I don't know. Anyway, so that is my review. I just had another bizarre thought here. The diviner weapon, which is from another time, is I just had another thought here. It is powerful enough to disrupt the Starfleet. What if it disrupts the Romulans when they go to the neutral zone? Just had this thought. It's probably not going to happen. What if it disrupts them, they re-engineer it, and it accidentally causes Romulus' sun to go nova? And it leads to the Romulans then turning and attacking the Federation for sending them a bomb. Even though they, in fact, would re-engineer it to attack. What if it starts the nova? What if they're that clever? I doubt it. But what if the weapon does the nova thing because they try to re-engineer it? Even though that wouldn't happen. A star can't just go nova if you drop a missile into it. That's silly. Even though they did that in Star Trek Generations, that really makes no sense. You've got conservation of energy in a star is like millions of times bigger than an Earth-like planet. So launching a missile into it would be less than launching a cellular gnat onto somebody and trying to destroy them. It's less than that. It's like, no, you can't destroy a star with a missile. But let's just say they can, and they've made this bomb thing. Let's just say this scientific experiment, they re-engineer the protostar's weapon, and they use it. The protostar itself could actually use it if they go that direction. They probably won't. That's a little dark. But I'm just thinking, what do they do? And what if the Romulan scientists that test the bomb thing, including the Narada, which is on its way out, they all test it, and it goes wrong, and it causes the star to go nova. And then they know the star's going to go nova, so they ask for Starfleet help. But they secretly blame Starfleet for blowing up the star, which is why some of the refugee thing gets destroyed at the last minute, to cover their tracks, because they actually use the weapon on Mars, on the Mars station thing, to attack Starfleet. They actually use the weapon later on that they created, that they stole from the future, to cause the synth attack to happen. And it causes the synth attack to happen in retribution for the star blowing up. So it's like a nuke that goes off that was stolen by another country, and then they blame that country for the nuke going off, destroying it. It's sort of like a Chernobyl thing, kind of like that, yeah. So they blame the other country for doing that, even though they engineered it themselves. Similar to that episode of Voyager where the aliens stole a replicator and it was wrecking their planet because it had a nuke inside it. It was like melting them or hurting them, like irradiating them. They had to go down there and get it. Or the Friendship 1 episode where the probe unknowingly has sent sort of a nuke to mess with them. Voyager's done this before a couple times. I also like in Judgments 1, 2, and 3, the Voyager episode that I wrote, the Arbiter. Everyone knows the Arbiter on Voyager. My rejected episode, which had a similar theme in there, the super weapon that either side had. But in that case, it was propaganda. They actually didn't have a weapon. They were just using it as a bluff. They weren't really going to destroy each other. They just like, I have what I... So what if, just a coincidence, what if the Romulans take the super weapon, they try to reverse engineer it, it fucks up their star, destroys it, messes it up, then they blame the Federation for spying on them and causing the thing to happen, because it's probably the Tal Shiar that uses the weapon on the star. It's Tal Shiar, which is similar to the Star Trek Online story, too, the Romulan star. So it is from like that, too. They could tie all this in. They probably won't, but they totally could. They could say, like, okay, this weapon thing really wasn't Romulan. It was stolen from the protostar's, like, evil weapon for the future. Which is partly a Transformer weapon if they've got Dreadnought in it from the Transformers. Well, Dreadnoughts were G.I. Joe characters, but the same universe, Paramount. But yes, so Prodigy is Star Trek meets the Transformers, basically. Yeah, we did that too. Yes, and actually Starfleet were kind of kick-ass, and the Shadow Dancer had captured Galvatron. So apparently he's really, really badass or something. I don't know how he did that. But yes, a damaged Galvatron. But yeah, that was different. So the Romulan, what if the Romulan thing is the other thing? That's a thought. It's not that. What if it is? What they have to tie that in? If they're that clever, that would be awesome. It'd be like, oh, okay, so the Romulans blame the humans, the Tal Shiar blames the humans for something they did, essentially. And then say, oh, see, the synths are evil. See, we told you the synths were evil, but no, the device you stole from the protostar, that's evil. That's what screwed up your star and the synths. It wasn't the humans at all that did it. So then the Federation got all bitter. And, they kind of are in this timeline. A little too bitter this time. Anyway, so there's my thought. Just a thought.